Welcome to the Explainer. If you've ever wanted to turn your Power BI formulas from, well, a total mess into something clean and lightning fast, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're unlocking a true DAX superpower, variables. Let's dive in.
You know the feeling, right? We've all been there. You're just staring at a formula that's a mile long. It's this tangled mess of nested functions, and you're thinking, if this breaks, where do I even start? It's slow, it's a pain to read, and it's even harder to fix. But what if I told you there's a much, much better way?
And this is what I'm talking about. On the left, you've got that tangled web, the kind of formula that just gives you a headache looking at it. But on the right, that's the same logic, but using variables. It becomes like a ladder. Every step is clean, it's readable, it's logical. And this isn't just about making things look pretty, it's a fundamental upgrade to how you write DAX.
Okay, let's get into it. Section 1. Solving the DAX puzzle.
So what even is a DAX variable? Honestly, the easiest way to think about it is like giving a calculation a nickname. You take a value or even a whole formula. You give it a simple name, and Power BI calculates it just once. Then you can use that nickname over and over again in your formula, and the engine never has to do that heavy lifting again.
Section 2. The variable blueprint.
All right, the syntax might look a little technical, but trust me, it's a really simple four-step pattern. First, you just start with the keyword var, then you give your variable a name and tell it what to calculate. You can do that as many times as you need for all your little building blocks. And then the final, crucial step, you use the keyword return to tell DAX, okay, here's the final answer I want you to show. That's it. var, name, and return.
And this is where it gets really powerful. You can actually use variables you've already made inside of new variables. Think of it like building with Legos, right? Each variable is a little piece you've already put together. This lets you build up incredibly complex calculations, but every single step stays clean and organized.
Now, there are a couple of rules to the game. The most important one is called scope. Basically, a variable is local, it only exists inside the one formula you created in. And just like reading a book, DAX reads from top to bottom, so you can only use a variable after you've declared it. Make sense, right? You can't talk about a character before they've even been introduced.
All right, Section 3. Let's see these things in action. Okay, so you can use variables when you're making a measure or a calculated column. But here's the deal. Your final return has to spit out a single value, what DAX calls a scalar value. If you're building a whole new calculated table, though, your return has to be a full table. Getting these two mixed up is a super common error, so just tucking that rule away will save you a lot of headaches.
So let's check out a measure. Instead of cramming everything inside that divide function, look what we did. We first made a variable for the dollar factor, then another one for the total sales. Now look at the return line at the end. It's just simple, readable names. I mean, how much easier is that to understand at a glance?
And it's just as powerful in a calculated column. Here, we can create one variable that just checks if a date is a Sunday. It's a simple true or false test. Then we make a second variable to hold the discount amount. The final if statement then reads almost like plain English. It's just so much more straightforward.
Section 4. The calculated once secret. Now listen up, because this next part, this is the most important concept about variables. Getting this is what really separates the beginners from the pros.
So here it is, the big secret. When you declare a variable, DAX calculates its value and then it locks it in. It calculates it one single time. So even if you use that variable 100 times later in your formula, DAX never recalculates it. It just keeps reusing that first fixed result.
And this is where that behavior becomes so critical. Look at this max function. It's designed to go through a table row by row. On the left, it works perfectly. It finds the max sales for a single product. But on the right, we define total sales as a variable outside of the max function. Why is that result so huge and completely wrong? Well, it's because that variable was calculated before the max function even started. It captured the grand total of all sales. Then it used that same giant fixed number for every single row it checked.
Now, I know what you're thinking. Hold on. That sounds like a bug, not a feature, right? But
What if we could actually use this fixed value to our advantage? What if we wanted to compare each row to some constant, unchanging grand total?
And this is the brilliant twist. That calculated once behavior is absolutely perfect for things like percent of total calculations. We can define our grand total sales as a variable to lock in that value. Then we can divide the sales of any single product or category by that constant grand total to find its exact contribution. What looked like a bug is actually a key to an incredibly elegant and powerful feature.
Okay, let's wrap this all up. Section 5. Your DAX superpower.
When you really master variables, it all comes down to 3 huge advantages.
First up, speed. Since the heavy calculations are only done once, your reports just run faster. It's that simple. Second, readability. You get to break those monster formulas into logical, bite-sized chunks that anyone on your team can understand. And third, and this might be my favorite, way easier debugging. If your formula ever breaks, you can just temporarily change your return statement to output any one of your variables. This lets you inspect each step of your logic and pinpoint the error in seconds. It's a total game changer. So there you have it. Variables are really the key to unlocking faster, cleaner, and just plain smarter DAX. You've got the blueprint now. The only question is, which one of your messy formulas are you going to go simplify first?